Shogun Rua is going to be capping off a great career against the 26-year-old up-and-coming Ihor Potieria in a UFC fight. How do I feel about it? Not that great, you know what I mean? So, Shogun Rua's had a legendary career. I believe it spanned 20 years, maybe even longer. It really started at the start of the early 2000s and went all the way to the end of the 2000s, between about 2000 and 2009 was kind of like his career. 2005 to 2009, I believe, was the peak. And Shogun Rua was on the top of the world, man. He was running fried. He was doing so good. And he did come to the UFC. And to be fair, he didn't really have the same success, but he has had a very successful MMA career, for sure. And it is a very fitting send-off to send him off in Brazil, his final fight in Brazil. But not against Ihor Potieria, man. Like, I think a more fitting send-off would have been maybe the Ovin St. Preux trilogy, even though the second fight wasn't that good. Alexander Gustafsson rematch. Let's re-sign Jan Vellante for a rematch. Like, I just feel like there's much better, more fitting send-off fights for Shogun Rua than a 26-year-old up-and-coming Ihor Potieria that the UFC is trying to market because he kind of looks like Conor McGregor and he is from Ukraine. But the way that Ihor Potieria fights, it means he's very open to getting a KO, but it also means that he's very open to get knocked out and finished by his opponents. Maybe Shogun Rua can pull off something amazing and really change my mind, but on paper, this just isn't really that good of a fight. To send a 41-year-old Shogun Rua who hasn't looked that great in years, to be honest, into retirement for. He's fighting a 26-year-old Ihor Potieria who runs forward and just throws bombs with not really any technique whatsoever. He's kind of wailing like Juliana Pena, except he's actually had some sort of boxing training in his life. And it's just amazing what he does. Like, watch his fight on Dana White's Contender Series. This guy just runs forward and he's just throwing. Like, he's just throwing just to throw, and he's just running forward. His neck, his head's pretty exposed to get hit, and he's just running forward and taking out Lucas Sadowski. And then he fought Nikolai Negumereanu in his UFC debut. And he got absolutely destroyed. Showed toughness and a chin, but he got destroyed in that fight, man. He really did. I just don't see Shogun Rua being able to beat him, though, man. I really wish we gave Shogun Rua another veteran, like a legend, like Alexander Gustafsson, Ovin St. Preux trilogy. You know, these are fights that I think would have been much more suitable to send off Shogun Rua, other than an Ihor Potieria fight. But it is what it is. I'm going with Ihor Potieria, and I do think he's going to finish Shogun Rua, unfortunately, and I do think it's going to be in the first round, and it's going to be really sad. But I hope Shogun finds something. I don't think it happens. Give me Ihor Potieria by KO. Just in the first round, is because that's how he fights. Ihor Potieria is going to run forward. He's going to swarm Shogun Rua with his constant volume and punches like he did in the Dana White's Contender Series fight. And I just think that he's maybe going to make a bit of a name for himself in this one. But maybe he gets spooked by the crowd, could be one, because he's going to be fighting against Shogun Rua in Brazil, and the crowd is going to be nuts. The crowd is going to be wild, which is why I do think maybe a home field advantage does exist in this fight, even though it doesn't really. It's MMA, you know what I mean? But a home crowd advantage in Brazil, I think that's a pretty powerful thing to have. But yeah, I'm just gonna go the Ihor Potieria in this one, unfortunately.